So before we get started, I wanted to show you why I dubbed this the double take toque. If you look at the stitch pattern, you can see a distinct difference. So this is actually the wrong side of the stitch pattern here. And this is the right side of the stitch pattern. So you can see this sort of has like a cluster appearance and the other side has more of a raised appearance. So you can choose which side you want to be facing out. I personally prefer the wrong side of the stitch pattern because I think it looks really neat. So I'm going to show you how to do the wrong side today, but I'll tell you how to do the right side if you prefer it. For this tutorial, I am going to be using Lion Brand's Hometown USA. This is a size 6 super bulky weight yarn. So you can sub in any size 6 super bulky weight yarn. It only has 81 yards, so you are going to need a little more than this. So you're going to need 2 balls, and I'm using the color Hoboken Honey. You're also going to need 2 different hook sizes. I'm going to be using the 6.5 for the band and the 9 for the actual body of the hat. You're also going to need a stitch marker. It's going to work in the continuous round. So to begin, using your smaller hook, make a chain of 54, and then be very careful to not twist your chain and slip stitch into your first chain stitch to form a ring. This should measure about the circumference of the wearer's head. Now you're just going to chain 1 and single crochet in the back loop only of every stitch around. So just continue making 1 single crochet in the back loop only of every stitch around. Here I am at the end. And now you need to decide, are you going to have the wrong side facing out or the right side facing out? Because you're going to turn the other direction for the wrong side, and you're going to continue going in the same direction for the right side of the stitch pattern. So go ahead and make that decision now. I'm going to show you the wrong side out because that is my preference. So slip stitch to the first single crochet and chain 1. Now we're going to switch to our larger hook because we're going to begin on the body of the stitch pattern. Now turn your work. Now for this particular round, we are going to be specifically working in the front loop only. So skip that first stitch and working in the front loop only. Here's the back loop, here's the front loop. So we're going to be working through just the front loop only, and we're only going to be doing this on this round. It's just to help prevent it from shrinking because you don't want to be too tight on the head. So skip the first stitch, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the same stitch. Now we're going to mark that first stitch there. Skip the next 2 stitches. Working in the front loop only of the next stitch, you're going to make a single crochet, a chain 1, and a single crochet. Skip 2 stitches. In the front loop only, make a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. You're just going to continue repeating this over and over until you reach your stitch marker. So here I am at the end. I'm skipping my last 2 stitches, and in the last stitch I'm making a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the front loop only. Now here we are at our marked stitch. We're going to slip stitch into that stitch. Chain 1, In the very same stitch we joined, we're going to make a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. You're going to need to utilize a stitch marker for sure from here on out because we are going to be working in the continuous round. So you need to mark the first stitch of your round. Now we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, which is of course the chain 1 space and the second single crochet of our cluster below. So look for the very first single crochet of every cluster, and that's what we're going to be working in. So skip the chain 1 and the second single crochet and make a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. We are working through both loops now. So we're going to skip the next chain 1 space and single crochet and make another cluster. Single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. Just continue repeating this all the way around till you reach your stitch marker. So here I am at the end. I have another chain space and single crochet to skip over, and I'm back at our stitch marker. So I'm not going to join. I'm just going to continue in the stitch pattern all the way around, over and over. So go ahead and take that stitch marker out, and in that very first single crochet, we're going to make a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. And I'm going to grab my stitch marker and mark the very first stitch of this round. And I'm going to continue repeating what we just did in the round below. So we're skipping the next chain 1 space and single crochet. And we're finding that next single crochet, make a cluster. Now we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, make a cluster. So just going to continue repeating this all the way around until you reach your stitch marker. So here I am at the end. I am going to just continue repeating the last round until my piece measures 7.5 inches in length. And before you reach the end of that measurement, you are going to have to start a new skein of yarn. So you're just going to continue repeating the stitch pattern over and over until you get the measurement of about 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters in length. So just do that and I will meet you back here. So here I have my piece measures 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters. And now we are going to begin our decreasing rounds. So we're back at our stitch marker here. I'm going to take it out and we are going to just single crochet in that stitch and place our marker. We are still working in the continuous round. Now we're going to chain 1, and instead of doing another single crochet, we're going to skip over the next 2 stitches and just make a single crochet, chain 1. So if you're familiar with the stitch pattern by now, which you should be, we are just basically omitting the second single crochet. We're doing the same thing, but we're omitting the second one. So here we are back at the beginning. We're going to do another round of decrease. Make a single crochet in our marked stitch to begin the next round and mark that stitch. Now we're omitting the chain 1. So we are skipping the next chain 1 space and single crocheting in the next single crochet stitch. So essentially we are single crocheting, skipping the chain space and making a single crochet in the next single crochet stitch. You're just going to repeat that all the way around till you reach your stitch marker. So here we are. If you want a messy bun hat, this is where you're going to need to stop. but I'm going to continue on and make a hat. So let me show you how to continue on. This is our last round of decrease, so we're going to single crochet in our marked stitch. Go ahead and mark that stitch. And over the next 2 stitches, we are going to make a decrease. We're going to single crochet 2 together over those next 2 stitches. Now in the next stitch, we are going to do 1 single crochet. And over the next 2 stitches, we're going to make a decrease. Essentially, we are decreasing every other stitch. So you're just going to repeat that all the way till you get to the stitch marker, and I will meet you there. So here we are at the end. Leave yourself a long tail and fasten off. I'm going to join with the first single crochet of the round with a slip stitch and grab a yarn needle because we are going to be whip stitching through the back loop only of every stitch around. Now the reason I'm not doing the front loop only is because this is actually the inside of the hat. If you decided to keep your front of your stitch facing out, then you would do the front loop only. So just continue doing that all the way around, and then we're going to cinch it tight. And we're going to knot it off and weave in our tails. I'm actually going to use this tail to add a pom-pom button, and I'll show you how I do that as well. And remember, this is the inside of your hat if the wrong side of your stitches are going to be facing out. So this is actually the outside of my hat. So I'm going to show you how to add the pom-pom button because our pom-pom will be going through that hole there. And I'm just going to be sewing it right there. So this button I get from angieandbrit.com. I'll link it in the description box. It has the instructions for removing the pom-pom before washing. Since this yarn is really bulky, I'm going to separate the strands so that I can actually work with them a little bit better. And I'm going to use just 2 of those to sew the button to the inside of the hat. And I wanted to show you my trick for keeping it strong, even though I split them in half. I'm just wrapping it around that button several times. Now we are going to finish the band. It's not completely done. I'm going to go back to my smaller hook here. And I am just going to do 1 more round to make it look just a little more clean. So I'm not going to join in the same place where I began my foundation chain because I don't want it to be too bulky. Chain 1, and I'm going to make a crab stitch or a reverse single crochet. So that's basically just making your single crochet stitches in the reverse direction. And you definitely want to go down a hook size, otherwise your band will curl up unbecomingly. So that's why I went down again to this smaller hook. So here I am, I'm going to show you an invisible join. I'm just going to pull it through, not joining. And because it has a sort of swirled look or wrapped look, I'm going to try to mimic that before I weave in my tail. So just watch me carefully. And I'm going to show you one more trick that I use with this yarn before moving on. So just like I did with the pom-pom button, I am going to split these tails in half, because when you weave these tails in like they are, it becomes so bulky it's uncomfortable to the person who's wearing the hat. So be sure and split the ends before you weave your tails in. And I'm just going to show you real quick how I do that. I'm taking the yarn away from where I began so that it's not too bulky. And I'm going to show you how I add my pom-pom. A lot of people like it, so I'm going to show you how I do it. I cut a piece of ribbon that's about 2 inches long and put it through the elastic, and I'm going to add some hot glue to these points right here, and it creates a nice little tag. So now I'm just going to wrap this elastic around the button. If I had a longer piece, I would wrap it multiple times, but it's short, so I don't need to. And then now the wearer can take that pom-pom off before they wash it. Your double take toque is complete. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial today. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching.